Hello, 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 hello. Are you there? Are you there? Testing one, two, three. Testing one, two, three. Oh my goodness me. I am so sorry about the issues in this. Well, I'm just so sorry that you couldn't hear me at all. Um, I hope that you can hear me now. It's a shame that you couldn't before, and I apologize for that. And I'll do this apology again, I'm sure, in a few moments' time. Yes, indeed, not the easiest and smoothest of starts for Watford, and certainly not the easiest and smoothest of starts here to this You ORNS post-match, the first one of the brand new campaign, as Watford fall to defeat at Charlton by a score of 1-0. The goal scored in the 94th minute of the game, a game that Watford really didn't do nearly enough in to warrant any sort of points at all. It looked like this game, however, was going to be ebbing toward an inevitable 0-0 scoreline. That's really what I thought the game was going to be. And, it's just one of those things that happens with football. It's one of the things that you really want to be careful of because, as an away side, the later the game goes at 0-0, the better a chance you have to win the game. But at the same time, the later a game goes at a 0-0 and you're the away side, the more likely it could be that you end up getting nicked at the very end of the game. And that is sadly what happened to us today. The Golden Boys could not find the last minute and a half of that game in which to get out of trouble. 0-0 it was until that 94th and a half minute, really the 95th minute of the game, around 94th minute of the game. And up popped the one of the substitutes, by the way, to score the goal off a set piece, something that Watford have been very weak at for a number of years. The set piece, the Achilles heel for this team for a number of years now. And it proved to be again, unfortunately, for the Golden Boys, who end up with nothing to show for it in a game where they didn't play particularly well. I mean, I thought that they did some things well in areas of the game, but there was a lot of things they didn't do well in the game. I thought they were a little bit sleepy at times in this one. Let's take this half by half, shall we? And talk about how our Golden Boys did. And if you want to make some comments on YouTube, you are more than welcome to do so. It's great to see Tristan back. Hello to you, Tristan. Dumbia disappointed me, says Tristan. He is the first to comment officially here on the You ORNS post-match, the first one of the season. We tried it earlier, but there were some technical problems, audio problems on my end. No one could hear me, but at least now the audio seems to be up and running, and Tristan can clearly hear me. So, Tristan, thank you for your comment. Tristan says, Dumbia disappointed me. Tristan, let me just talk about him before I go through the game, and I will continue to read out the comments. Thank you very much for joining me here on You ORNS live on YouTube, the post-match, the first one of this brand new season. I thought Dumbia was one of the few highlights in contrast to what you've said, Tristan. I actually think Dumbia was one of the few highlights of this game. Now, he didn't do a whole heck of a lot, but there were moments where he put in some really good balls in the box. He was playing off to the left of the forward three. He put in a ball across the box. And for the life of me, how on earth Luca did not get onto that ball is beyond me. Those are the kinds of balls a striker wants, yearns for. But in this particular scenario, having put that great ball in like Dumbia did, Luca did not get on the end of it. But in many respects, Dumbia did not do enough in the game. I'll say that. And I can understand what you're saying there, Tristan. Dumbia, for me, did not do enough in the game, did not put a stamp on the game like he usually does. Playing normally, he likes to play up the middle, I think, but he played on the left. I didn't think he was bad in the game. I just don't think he did enough in the game. Didn't put himself about enough. But he did put in a couple of really good balls across the box. Goodness, I mean, away from home, you're going to have only about 4 or 5 opportunities in the game, and you got to make those count. one of the things for me is that Watford didn't do that overall. But I hear what you're saying about Dumbia, Tristan. Thank you for the comment as always. Generally speaking, in the first half of the game, going back to that, the first half for us, we soaked up their pressure well the first 5 or 10 minutes. You knew that Charlton were going to come out like a house on fire. They did just that. We were able to soak up that intensity and then begin to grow into the game. So by around the 20th minute of the game, we really began to grow into the game. Problem was for us is that as we grew into the game, there were some lapses defensively that meant that Charlton were able to come in behind us. And it was Egil Selvik who had to make 3 really good saves in that first half, 2 or 3 really good point blank saves to prevent Watford from going behind in the game. And in addition to that, when we were going forward, we just didn't do enough. As I pointed out with Dumbia putting that great ball in, but Luca did not get on the end of it. He's got to do better. Same with what happened with when Ngakia put in a tremendous ball, a real good diagonal to Dumbia, who then did fizz the ball across. Luca did not do enough with that at all, did not get on the end of it. And I think what Luca has to do, and I know it's his first game in English football, but he has got to find space and put himself about in the spaces. He's got to create space. One thing I am seeing from Paolo Pezzolano in this first championship game is that he loves to spread the play about a lot more. He is not one-dimensional. He loves to explore the channels a lot more, create a lot more width for his players. He likes to use the wing backs and the forward players a lot more expansively, whether it's going forward, whether it's on set pieces going forward, whether it's attacking the ball, whether it's getting on the posts. He loves to create width. He loves to spread passages of play. He loves to spread the ball in passages of play really, really well in a sequence. And I love how he does that. He'll fizz the ball. He'll have his players fizz the ball from one side to the other in the same sequence of play, which keeps everything spread out, which keeps defenders all over the place. And it also provides a lot of width and a lot of space. And I thought Charlton gave us a lot of space today to exploit. And I thought that Watford needed to do more to exploit that space, especially in the final third of the pitch. We didn't do enough of that. And that's where the striker comes in. Luca has got to, and he'll learn this, he has got to explore the spaces more. He has got to make himself available more. If you know that the manager demands that kind of spread out play, and you know that the manager is spreading the ball all over the pitch, you have got to, as a striker, be commensurate with that, which means that you've got to also put yourself about, run into space, find spaces. And I don't think Luca was as aggressive in that. He wasn't aggressive enough in finding space. His movement was not bad, but I don't think he provided enough movement and enough space. As a striker, you've got to be predatory. Luca, who came in here having scored a gazillion goals in some second tier of some league that I've forgotten, and doesn't matter when you get to the Championship or the Premier League. When you get to them 2 tiers of English football, it don't matter what you did in some other league where you scored 30 goals in 10 games or whatever the hell it was. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you do now in the Championship. And I know it's only game 1, so I'm not going to go crazy on it, but this will be a lesson for Luca. It's got to be more aggressive. Got to be more aggressive. He's got to hunt down, He's got to hunt down space. He's got to find space. You've got to be predatory. You've got to have your instincts as a striker to anticipate more. And I don't think he got his angles right. I don't think he anticipated the spaces very well. I don't think he was aggressive into running into space. And so when you don't have that going for you, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day. Look, I'm not faulting Luca for the reason why we lost the game. I just think team-wide, we didn't do enough in the final third of the pitch. Loser for me was underwhelming today in midfield. I didn't find him to be especially galvanizing. He had the one shot off the set piece, the free kick that went straight to Kaminsky. Very disappointing. I felt that he needed to do a whole lot more than that. That was in the second half of the game. That was, I think, one of the only shots on target that we had, maybe 2 shots on target the entire game. Not enough. Sissoko, for me, was a disappearing act. Really did not register for me at all in this game, Sissoko. Not enough done there. Barr, in the first half, was very lively. But and he cut inside and was very good there for those couple of times he did that in the first half. but I'm afraid he just didn't do enough. He just didn't do enough. I mean, and he got subbed off early in the second half. He had the knock, played on through it, seemed to be okay. Abankwah had a knock, played on through it, seemed to be okay. Both Abankwah and Barr were subbed off in the game. But I won't read anything more into that than what it is. I just think Paolo wanted to make a change, and so he did. The subs came on, didn't really affect the game. Tom Ince was one of the triple substitutions that came on. Kayembe came on as well, having passed fit earlier in the week. Didn't really put much of an imprimatur on the game either. Maybe they needed a bit more time to come into the game. But the bottom line is there was a third sub, Jack Greaves, who is lively, is looking to be someone who might really break through for us this season. But he really didn't get his feet too wet either in the game. But the bottom line here, it's not about the subs. It's not really about that. It's not really about, because I have no problem with the substitutions. The subs just didn't do anything. But that's not really where the problem was. The problem for me was game management. And as I said yesterday in the You ORNS Friday Focus, game management was going to be everything in this game. And being switched on for every minute of the game was going to be the real issue for Watford. And Charlton's aggressiveness was going to be an issue. And I did fear for them in this game. I really feared for Watford. Yesterday, I talked about it in the You ORNS pre-match here on YouTube. I talked about it. Yesterday, I predicted that Watford would lose the game. And then my prediction did not change at the beginning, pre-match. And obviously, I'm not going to change my predictions at all. I predicted that Watford would make the playoffs this season, and I'm going to stick with that. But you can't make the playoffs when you perform like this away from home. One of the keys for Watford this season, if they are going to make the playoffs or go better than that, is that they're going to have to play a lot better on the road in these games. And I think one thing that does frustrate you as a Watford supporter here is that they didn't do enough in the game against a Charlton side that are newly promoted. That's the thing that I think will eat you up a little bit here with this game. They didn't do nearly enough against a newly promoted side. And I know, granted, we have some new boys of our own in our side, in our squad, but Watford, I'm sorry, an established championship side now, obviously we know that, have to do more away from home against a newly promoted Charlton. That is not a disrespect to Charlton. Charlton did very well for themselves today. They got the 3 points. But Watford, coming into this game with the signings they have and with the work they did in preseason and in training camp, have got to come out in a game like this and do a whole heck of a lot more than they did going forward in that final third. Just not good enough away from home, And it's one game, can't go crazy. But there will be a lot to be learned from a game like this. The head coach told you in the video that you saw yesterday on the on the Watford FC channel, social channels, that you have to be. He said you have to be switched on every minute of the game, and I mean, Exhibit A. 94th minute came along, weren't switched on. Set piece, you've got to see that out. If you don't win a game, the rule of thumb in any league, especially as the away side, if you're not winning the game, make sure you don't lose the game. If you're in the late stages of a game, last 5 minutes of a game, injury time of a game, and you're the away side especially, and you're not winning the game, and it's 93rd minute, make sure you don't lose the game. Watford did not follow that golden cardinal rule. And because they disregarded that rule, they ended up losing the game. They lost the game. They did not abide by that rule, right? Which is, make sure you don't lose. You're in the 90th minute, 93rd minute. You get to 85 minutes, 87 minutes, 90 minutes, injury time minutes. Make sure you do not lose that game. And Watford were very close to not losing the game, but close does not count in this championship. You've got to see it through all the way home, and Watford did not. And so it's going to be a difficult trip. It's a short trip back to Hertfordshire, about a 30-mile trip back. So the lads are probably back off the bus and back at the Vic by now. But this one was although again, it's one game, this game was one that Watford will learn a lot from. And I think that's the only silver lining that I take out of today, is that they will learn from this. And Paolo and Valon Barami, of course, who of course is a technical advisor, I think, to Luca Nani, Gianluca Nani, was very visible on the sideline in his suit, brown suit, was gesticulating as well to some of the Watford assistant coaches and physio and whatnot. He was very active, and I think you're going to see that throughout the season. Valon Barami, who of course used to play for Watford back in 2015, and just after that in the Premier League, when he arrived in the Premier League, he started playing for Watford then for a few seasons. It's going to be very much hands-on, you can tell, in this game and in this season for your Golden Boys. It's good to see Valon Barami. I always seem to forget his name when I'm referencing him in other conversations here, but it's good to see him. I wish he could have played for us today. We could have used him in that midfield. I don't think the midfield was very impressive. The only thing I will say, though, second half or first half, is that Hector Cipriano did a good job. Of all the new boys that we had in the game today for this season to start off with, I think Cipriano did a good job. I think he was very good on the ball, very easy on the ball, versatile, good touch. Most of his passes were on target. I think he had one that wasn't. His completed pass rate was very good, except for that one or two that he didn't complete. You can see what kind of player he is, and you can see how versatile he is. I think Petzolano put him up the pitch a bit more in the second half and various points in the first half. He can play defensive midfield, which is what his primary duty was today. But he can also roam up top, roam up front, and roam up a bit more of the pitch and be more of an attacking midfielder. And with Georgie out for goodness knows how much longer, you can tell that Cipriano is going to probably play a role further up the pitch as well. And Ngakia played further up the pitch at various points in a kind of a false number 10 role, actually, which I thought was quite good. He had a couple of shots on goal. I thought Ngakia played well. I mean, I know there's a penalty shot for Charlton. I know, obviously, that there was one, for us as well. The referee swallowed his whistle both times. And on X earlier, one of the Watford fans pointed out there on X to me in the YOU ORNS post-match on X earlier on that the referee was not good. He was awful. I mean, that's what one of the Watford supporters said, one of the fellow Watford supporters said. And I do agree with that. The referee did not do himself any favors today for either Charlton or for Watford. And you could tell it was a make-up call, a make-up non-call, because the referee swallowed his whistle in what could have been a Charlton penalty. I look at that more and more, and I go, I mean, it probably was a penalty for Charlton, to be fair. And Ngakia barged in. That's the only thing Ngakia did wrong today, quite frankly, was to barge into the player in the penalty box, and the player went down. I mean, letter of the law, that is a pen. I mean, I really should be really more honest about that, really more frank about it. That is a pen. But the referee didn't seem to see that way. And we really got a let off there. But then at the same time, there was one from the goalkeeper, Kaminsky, at the other end for us, when Kaminsky clearly clipped the Watford player and brought him down the box. That's a Stonewall pen. So that's two penalties that weren't given by the ref. And that was a make-up non-call by the ref for our penalty. So he didn't give one for Charlton and he didn't give one for us. He should have given one for Charlton and he should have given one for us. So there you go. Referee. But the Charlton fans aren't going to care about the referee because Charlton got 3 points. And really, that's rare. That's all you need to know in the game. In the 94th minute of the game, oh boy, you'd almost prefer, as a Watford supporter, have Charlton score one of them early chances than to see the way we lost this game, because Charlton did play better. They did have much more aggressiveness, and they were busier in front of goal than we were, and they looked much more aggressive in front of goal than we did. Not that I'm wishing for a loss in any circumstance, but you're almost, and I use that word advisedly, as a Watford supporter, would have rather Charlton scored much earlier in the game, like when they were really creating chances in the first half, than score at the death like that. A loss is a loss is a loss. And when we're looking back at the table later on in the season, we're not going to care that it was in the 94th minute. All we're going to see is under the L column is a number. And one of those numbers will be a loss to Charlton on opening day, a newly promoted side. You really don't want to lose to a newly promoted side when you're playing in the championship as one of the more experienced championship sides as we are, as one of the more experienced championship sides. But bottom line is that we did that today against the Charlton side that were newly promoted. Very disappointing, and very disappointed that the audio here did not work because he had a number of Watford fans watching and were waiting. And I knew that once the audio didn't work, restarting this thing would be the kiss of death because obviously all the Watford fans that were looking to come in did not come in. But look, you'll get to watch this afterwards, after the fact, and you will be able to hear me loudly and clearly because I'm happy to report, obviously, by now you know that the audio here works. I don't know what the issue was. I'm going to really look and be very careful about what I'm doing with the audio microphone wise because the microphone worked fine in pre-match. I switched microphones after the audio problems, and I think that seemed to have resolved it. So I'm going to make sure that that does not happen again this season. I will do my level-headed best here on YouTube to make sure that it doesn't happen again this season. But the last thing I want to say about Watford before I say goodbye here on this edition, this inaugural edition this season of You Orns post-match, Watford FC post-match on YouTube, is that I think that the lads are going to play better in the games coming up on Tuesday and on Saturday because there's going to be a lot of learning lessons here from this one. Yeah, you don't want to start the season with a defeat. Not good. Not good to do that. I still think that there's high hopes for this team. Obviously, Watford are going to still get a couple of new players in there, still looking to do that. Max Elaine, I thought, was good when he came in. He didn't do a whole heck of a lot, but I thought he was good. He was composed. Caleb Wiley is out injured, so you missed him today. He'll be out for, I think, another game or two, right? If not more. Matty Pollock, as I said, I think earlier, was a massive miss for us in that back line. His leadership could have made a difference in those last couple of minutes. Kayembe, I think, was a leader in there today. I thought he did not too badly, Kayembe, but did not really put his stamp on the game, as I said earlier. Selvik was the busiest player on the pitch for us. And if you're talking about the goalkeeper being the busiest player on the pitch, that is not a good sign for you. Not a good sign at all. So that's really the situation as we find it here on this brand new season, the first game of the brand new championship season. Final score for the Golden Boys today, not a good final score. It finished Charlton Athletic 1, Watford 0. And as I say, I predicted that Charlton were going to win this game. I said this yesterday on the You Orns Friday Focus here on YouTube. I also said it in the You Orns pre-match today. I'm not looking to claim any accolades for that. But I just did not have a good feeling about this game. And also based upon my other reasoning for saying what I said is based upon what you saw, based upon knowing that Charlton were a new promoted team and they wanted to show off to their fans and wanted to be aggressive, and we're going to show you that coming out the gate and keep that kind of tempo. I thought that it was going to be an initiation ceremony of sorts for the new lads on our side, on our Watford team, and it proved to be somewhat that. Mark Bowler, he was okay, but nobody, new or old, on this team did nearly enough to warrant any points, quite frankly. And I thought, had Watford, and I said we'd be lucky to get a draw here, and it looked like we were going to be lucky to get a draw. But again, 6 minutes of injury time, that's the time you really have to stay focused. And we didn't have Sissoko on the pitch, who would have reminded them of that. I know Kayembe was reminding them of that. We didn't have Matty Pollock. He was injured. He would have reminded the lads of that. Tom Ince was on the pitch. I'm sure he would have said something to these lads to stay switched on, stay focused. But unfortunately, it just didn't happen, did it? That set piece didn't do enough to clear that danger out, and Charlton pounced at the end. Just had a bad feeling the last couple of days about the game for that reason and more. And unfortunately, Watford ended up with the defeat late on in the game. It's harsh. It's a bad taste in your mouth as a Watford supporter, but it is only the first game of the season. Lot to learn, which will be encouraging that they will learn from this and they will get better than this. And there were some things I was encouraged by. I like the dynamic energy of what we do when we build the play, when we spread the play from wing to wing, flank to flank, really good pinpoint diagonals, really good driving ball into the box. I liked Bar's forays, the two or three that he had before he really became much more of a much more of a spectator in the game, and the knock that he got may have hampered him, but he came back and kept playing on with some real gusto, but really didn't do very much after that. A Banquet in the defense was okay. He had a knock as well, continued to play on, but both Bar and the Banquet were subbed off. But again, the bottom line is we just didn't do enough up front. Really, that's my main complaint. But again, lots to learn, lots to work on. And I think Watford will play a lot better the next couple of games. Tuesday night at the Vic, the first game of the season at the Vic, it will be in the Carabao Cup against Norwich City, who right now, as I record this live, are playing against Millwall. That's a 0-0 contest right now in the regular 3 p.m. kickoffs. That's live. I'm looking at it live here now on the other other laptop here, seeing Norwich 0, Millwall 0 currently. As far as that's concerned, it's about 32 minutes in at Carrow Road, and really not much of any consequence on game one of the season, but just an observation about what's going on there as far as that is concerned. One other note to make here, the next home match is, as I said, on Tuesday, the first home match of the season on Tuesday in the Carabao Cup against Norwich. And then the first home match of the championship season will be a week from today, Saturday, the 16th of August, against none other than Queen's Park Rangers. It's the second time in the last 3 seasons that we've had our home opener against Queen's Park Rangers, who are a very tricky side to play against. We played a 0-0 draw against them last season at the Vic in what was an early afternoon kickoff. Now we take on QPR again. QPR, a tricky outfit, and that will be a week from today in the championship. So I do apologize profusely for the audio difficulties that had me trying to fix them and had me forcing a shutdown of the initial YOU ORNS WFC on YouTube post-match. I was trying to simulcast with X, as I've been doing throughout the seasons here on YouTube, along with X, where you could hear everything that X contributors were saying. But unfortunately, it just didn't work today for whatever reason. The audio didn't work here on YouTube. And as I say, I apologize to the Watford fans who were ready, willing, and able to jump on board. But they couldn't hear anything because my audio here was not switched on right. There was just some issue audio technical wise. It just didn't work out today on that front. But obviously now in this second go around, this take 2 edition of the YOU ORNS Watford FC post-match here on YouTube, the audio clearly does work, and you can obviously hear me now. So that is it on this Saturday, August the 9th. The first game of the new championship season for Watford is in the books. The final score again was Charlton 1, Watford 0. And for the second consecutive day, a team scores a very late goal to deny what could have been either a victory for another team or a draw. Again, the game between Birmingham and Ipswich yesterday, Birmingham looked on course for a win, and they didn't get that late in the game. 95th, 96th minute, Ipswich Town scored, and 93rd minute, Ipswich Town scored to get a 1-1 draw. Today, Watford looked like they were going to get a draw out of this game, and in the 94th minute, Charlton Athletic scored with just under 2 minutes of injury time in the game left. Really difficult one here, but we'll learn from it and we'll move on. Yep, not a great result, obviously, but we will feel better, I believe, as we go along in this championship season. That is it for now. My name is Omar. Please subscribe again to the YOU ORNS WFC YouTube channel here on YouTube. It's been great having you aboard, fellow Watford supporters. Please subscribe to the YOU ORNS podcast, Watford FC podcast for YOU ORNS. That's going to be coming up a little bit later on today on Apple, Spotify, and numerous other podcasting platforms. And please do not forget to subscribe to Substack, YOU ORNS WFC, the number 1.substack.com. Really would appreciate that, because there'll be some live videos there, and there will certainly also be some video content, as well as stories that I'll be writing on that Substack that you can read. So please, please, please make sure you subscribe there as well. That is it for this edition of You Orns Watford FC post match on YouTube, the very first one of this brand new season, as Watford fall to defeat, unfortunately, in their very first championship game of this 25-26 season. That's it for now from me, yours truly, Omar. I will be back again, not on Tuesday here, maybe on Tuesday. We'll see. Probably not on Tuesday, but definitely next Saturday on this channel. So please do follow along, like the videos, and subscribe. I will be doing another video here later on with the 10-minute take. So please stay tuned for that. Make sure that you check back for that a little bit later on. That is it for now. Take care, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me. Once again, my profound apologies for the audio difficulties. I will make sure that does not happen again this season, as far as YouTube is concerned. Take care, everyone. Be well. I'm Omar here in sunny San Francisco, California, although it's not sunny right now, but the sun is supposed to come out later here. I do hope the sun is shining wherever you are. Be well. Take care of yourselves. Have a good rest of your weekend. The final score again was Charlton 1, Watford 0, but Watford will bounce back. A lesson to be learned for Watford today. I think they will learn from this, and I think they'll be a lot better in their aggressiveness going forward, especially in that final third of the pitch. That is it for now. Thank you very much for your time and for your patience with the technical difficulties, the audio difficulties. I'm Omar, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Have a good rest of your week and your weekend. And you